welcome back. It's time for us to have a conversation on the health segment, and this segment is sponsored by the Farmers Market. Farmers Market 100% hygienic and farm fresh. Now, Dr. Kelvin Owusu has joined us on the set, and we're going to be talking today about the 5 risks that, health risks that you need to be aware of and avoid if you can during this period. Good morning, Dr. Kelvin.
Good morning, David.
How are you?
Very well.
You're looking very Christmas.
Yeah, I've started early. 2020 has been harsh, so you have to happy yourself.
Nice one. Okay, I like that. Right, so we are looking, Christmas is a time, of making merry, getting festive. Nobody plans to get ill, in this season. But unfortunately, we are human beings. Mm-hmm. We overdo things. We make mistakes, and the unfortunate happens, and people do get sick, people do get ill. Let me ask you, before we get into the 5 risks, do you tend to find in your practice over the years that cases go up in the OPD during the period, after the period?
Well, technically, not so much. I mean, it does go up, but not by a significant number. However, in these times, Christmas, New Year, the health workers also must take a break. So we tend to work we tend to reduce the staff on duty at a time. So obviously, if there are fewer staff on duty, and even a slight increase in patient number would mean a lot of work for those on duty. So when you are working during this period, it feels like the numbers have gone up because there are fewer staff members on the ground. Because Christmas is Christmas. Everybody must have some time to spend with their family. Even doctors and nurses also deserve some small quality family time at this moment.
Absolutely, I agree with that. All right, so what are the things that we should be watching out for?
Well, it's Christmas, so the first thing, which is also the most difficult, in my opinion, is that we have to try and avoid overeating.
Okay, overeating.
Yeah.
Okay, at what point are we eating too much? At what point would you say, this is just too much?
Okay, so let me start from here. Generally speaking, the average Ghanaian overeats. That's like a general thing.
I cannot disagree at all.
Yes, I mean, because most people will sit down and have a heavy breakfast, heavy lunch, heavy supper. Everything is heavy. I mean, instead of eating a ball of kenkey, you are probably eating 2 balls of kenkey. I know somebody who eats 3 balls of kenkey in one sitting. Now that's a lot of food.
And then has rice for dessert.
You see, and when it gets to Christmas, it gets worse because now there's actually a lot of food available. I mean, people prepare, people make a big deal out of Christmas. So there's a lot more food at home. There are a lot more biscuits and a lot more drinks, a lot more small bites here and there. And of course, there are the family events and social events and all that. Even though there's Corona, but they are still going to happen. And so you are eating heavier at home. And you're going out to also eat little bits here and there, go to this party, go to that. And you can't visit somebody and not eat something. I mean, that's rude. So you are going to eat a lot, And so in as much as it's going to be very difficult, you must try. That's emphasis on try, because it's going to be difficult because, but you have to try. It's because if you overeat, you're going to pay for it. With all sorts of other complications. So you're going to gain a lot of weight. You're going to have a lot of complications from the weight gain and all that. Already this year has been difficult. A lot of people have not been able to go through their normal routines. And so people are already on the plus side as a result of 2020 issues. So Christmas is going to compound that
worse.
Exactly. And so that's the first thing. So overeating can lead to weight gain or cholesterol buildup, which can then lead to hypertension, kidney issues, liver issues. So try. Of course, if you're going to eat a lot, then it means they have to step up your exercising game. Even though it's Christmas and you're supposed to be resting, well, if you intend to eat a lot, this is the time to hit the streets with some jogging and maybe the gym as well. Very important.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Well, we are also we are in Corona. We are still in Corona, and so we cannot do without talking about Corona and other related infections. During this season, we have a lot of social gatherings, so it's easy to spread infections from one person to another person. And I've said this several times, that I'm hoping that coronavirus has made us more aware of the benefits of hand washing, and I'm hoping that with constant hand washing, we are going to reduce or minimize that risk. And so it's important that we try as much as possible to keep washing. You see, let's not forget that hand washing is not just to prevent coronavirus. It also prevents common cold. It also prevents diarrheal diseases. It prevents so many things, and especially for the children, you see, because it's difficult to keep them in check. So as soon as you catch that child, wash their hand, or tell him or her to go and wash their hand as often as possible. Very important. Then the third one is, we call it traveler's diarrhea.
Okay, before you give us the third one, now if you're watching and you're wondering some of the things that Dr. Kelvin is talking about, how you're going to manage, if you have any questions you want to ask him, please send and ask any questions that you have to the WhatsApp number 0550-585-832. We're also using the hashtag breakfastdaily for us to hear what you're thinking. Yes.
So the traveler's diarrhea.
Okay, that's
now,
an
I think
one.
The last time I said we spoke about food poisoning. So it's a kind of food poisoning-like illness, but this one, people get it because they move to a different environment and they are not too used to either the water they drink or how they prepare their food. Okay. Most of the time we assume the commonest example you get is people come down to Ghana from wherever they've been, and then they tell you that if they drink the tap water, they get a running stomach. Yeah. It's not necessarily to say that your water is not clean. Okay. It's probably because how they treat our water is different. Yes, it's different from how the water is treated over there. Okay. And so the change in the chemical balance can upset their stomach. Okay. So it takes them some time to adjust. And of course, if they actually do drink the tap water, they will get the diarrhea. But if they actually continue drinking it, it gets better, and it will actually it actually goes away. Okay. So that's how you know it's traveler's diarrhea. Okay. It could happen with food. Say you come down and then they give you some hot pepper soup or light soup, as we call it. You're not used to the pepper and you take that, you actually get a running stomach. Not because the food was not prepared well, but because you are not used to the way this particular food is prepared.
Chemical composition.
Exactly, And it can even happen to us in Ghana. If I move from my house and say travel to, let's say, Tamale and eat some TZ over there, it can happen not because the food is not well prepared, but because how I prepare my TZ, well, I actually don't know how to prepare TZ, but for purposes of the exactly, it's different from how they do it over there. So then you can get that kind of traveler's diarrhea. Okay. But of course, it is still closely related to food poisoning because you're going to have a lot of social gatherings, and so when you move from one you go to a social gathering and then they serve food, it's possible that something was off in the food. Let's say, especially typical example, coleslaw or salad. Okay. When they put salad cream and then it's not treated properly, maybe it was left out too long. Okay. Everybody who partakes in that salad or that coleslaw is going to probably have a running stomach, which then is not traveler's diarrhea. It's food poisoning. Okay. And so it's a bit difficult for you as the lay person to determine whether this is food poisoning or this is traveler's diarrhea because they tend to behave the same. But then they do not follow the same natural history. Okay. So if it's severe, you should report to hospital so that you can get treatment. Of course, if you have any form of diarrhea, ORS is always your friend. ORS is good, or fruit. Usually plain water is not good when you have diarrhea. So when you have diarrhea, try and avoid plain water.
Explain that.
Well, when you take plain water, sometimes it can actually make the diarrhea worse. Okay. You see, because it sort of pulls, osmosis and diffusion, all those. So it sort of pulls more water into the one that's in the intestine. So it sort of exacerbates the diarrhea. You see this more often in children, in babies. So when a child has diarrhea, if it's a child younger than 6 months, we encourage the mother to actually breastfeed more, rather than giving water, even though they're not supposed to be drinking water at all. If the child is beyond 6 months, again, increase the breast milk, add ORS, but try and avoid plain water because of the phenomenon I just described. Then we also have binge drinking. Yeah, okay. We've actually spoken about this before, but this is the season. Again, a lot of parties, a lot of social events, and people are going to drink. I have no problem if you are drinking, but you see, if you are not used to drinking and you go and sit down and you consume too much alcohol, you are likely to actually to die than somebody who has been drinking alcohol every single day. Okay. Now that's the thing with alcohol. Okay. If you, both of them are wrong actually, but the one who is likely to die faster is the one who actually drinks a lot of alcohol in one sitting. especially if he or she is not used to drinking alcohol.
Okay.
So if you went for a party and then they were doing some shots and then you just sat down and you took some 10 shots, you could actually pass out right there, and then you could have alcohol toxicity, alcohol poisoning, and all sorts of things, and that's not good at all. And so you need to learn how to pace yourself. You need to, well, first of all, you need to know yourself, know how much alcohol you can tolerate, so that you don't go and drink more than you usually do, because of course alcohol also has its related issues, road traffic accidents, other forms of accidents as well. So as much as possible, try and minimize how much alcohol you are taking in these times, because it has effects on your liver. You could get liver damage from binge drinking. You could get liver damage from constant drinking as well. So both of them will cause liver damage, but binge drinking will cause an acute liver injury, which could end you in the ICU, and that's not good news at all. All right. And
now, before you go to the last one, let me just ask you about this drinking issue. Every bottle of alcohol has a percentage on it.
Yes.
Right. Now, there's a certain logic that says if it's 5% alcohol, then I'm okay because I'm not doing 20% alcohol, right? How much does it add up? So if you take 5% alcohol and you do 5 bottles, is that 25% alcohol intake? Or is it as safe as still 5% alcohol? And then vis-a-vis somebody who takes, let's say, something that's much, much stronger.
So one thing that makes it difficult in all this alcohol discussion is the variation in the units of alcohol, or the volume of alcohol per is a bottle or per glass. You see, I've seen beers that have 2%, 3%, 7%. I've seen 11% beers. Then there are spirits as well going all. I've seen vodka of about 70% alcohol. Now the thing is, how much is too much? So we have to find a way of standardizing everything, and so that's where the units of alcohol comes in. Now, this unit it's not easy to calculate either. If you have a beer bottle, in Ghana we call it mini, so that's about 300 mils of a beer of about 3 to 5% alcohol. That's 1 unit. Now, if you want to take a shot of vodka, which is about, let's say, 40% alcohol, just a shot, that's 1 unit. So now you have 1 unit which is 300 mils, 1 unit which is about 10
maybe 10 mils. Or maybe
10 mils.
Yeah, 20
and
mils,
so these two have the same effect. So if you took 10 shots of vodka at that strength, you've taken 10 units of alcohol. Somebody takes a
full bottle,
10 bottles of beer. That's also 10 units. So the effect on both of you, depending on your biochemical buildup, is expected to be the same. But then the reason why I said that depending on your biochemical buildup is that everybody has a different tolerance level. So somebody may drink 2 shots of alcohol and the alcohol level in their blood will be high. You may actually start showing symptoms of alcohol intoxication. Somebody takes 10 shots of alcohol and doesn't show anything, probably because one person has been consuming alcohol for a long time, so their tolerance level has gone up. And so but the summary of the whole thing is that do not base your capacity on somebody else's. You should know yourself. That's all.
What's the last one?
But ultimately, you are, as a man, you're supposed to have only about 3 units of alcohol in a day.
3 units.
And a woman is supposed to have only about 2 units of alcohol in a day. So if you are doing more than that, well, then you know that you're already above your limit.
Okay. All right. So, good morning, Doc. I hear there's something called alcohol poisoning. What is it? This is Berma from Osu.
Well, so alcohol poisoning is it's a medical condition. And so there are two let me put it this way. Some people may confuse ethanol with methanol. Methanol is poisonous. Even though the name sounds the same. Ethanol is what they use to produce the alcohol that we can consume. So if you mistakenly go and take methanol, you have some form of alcohol poisoning, and that could be fatal. If you also go and binge, I mean, it's complicated, but generally that's the alcohol poisoning that I'm aware of. Methanol for ethanol. That's what it is, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it can be disastrous.
Okay, we have another question here. Good morning, David and Doc. I have a problem. I never get full. I spend so much money on food and snacks because I always have to eat. But seriously, I never get full. what's wrong with me, please? This is Janet from Kumasi.
So some people generally have a high metabolism or metabolic rate, or we call it BMR, basal metabolic rate. So they tend to process food faster than other people. You know, so you may give the same amount of calories that you give to person A, you give that same calorie to person B, and person A will metabolize it faster. And these people tend to usually be slim. You know, then there are people too, when they eat small. Some people say that when I drink water, I gain weight. So they have a slower metabolism rate. So generally you should know yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so that if you realize that you are part of the fast or the high metabolic rate people, then you know that you probably be expected to eat a bit more to achieve the same level of energy that somebody else would do. Yeah. But of course, if you are waiting, sometimes you don't eat. I have to be careful. You don't eat because you are hungry. You eat because it's time to eat. Now, the nutritionist will tell you this into more details. When you eat because you are hungry, generally you tend to overeat.
Okay.
You see, because you are trying to eat to get the sensation that I'm full.
Yeah.
But if you are eating because it's time to eat, so that's why there's breakfast, there's lunch, there's supper, and in between these there's the snacks. Yes, at those times. So you eat because it's time to eat. And when you do that, you generally have a constant supply of energy. And so people who actually do that, they tend to have good muscle build-up, less fat in physical, like fat in the areas where you don't want the fat to be. When you eat because you're hungry, you tend to gain weight unnecessarily, you know.
Okay. Wow. Good morning. I heard Doc saying that if you want to overeat, then you should be prepared to do a lot of exercise. I want to ask, is it healthier for one to exercise just after overeating? What's the health implication of exercise after eating? This is Mohammed from Lambusi.
But Mohammed, you understand that when you finish eating, you can't even exercise. Because if you try to exercise after eating, you actually get a muscle pull or a stitch, as we call it. You see, because your stomach sits right under your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is what enables you to breathe. The diaphragm it's a muscle. When it contracts, it enables the lungs to expand and take in air. So when you eat, the stomach is preventing the diaphragm from expanding fully. So you yourself will know that when you eat heavily, you're unable to breathe well. Sometimes you don't even know whether you should lie down, you should stand up. You are very uncomfortable. So it's highly unlikely you'll be able to go and exercise after eating heavily. You know, so the best time to exercise would be either before eating or you wait a few hours after eating. Then you can go and do your exercise. Because again, if you even go and try exercise after eating, you might end up forcing the food back out. You know, by way of regurgitation and all of this. So it's not advisable to go and exercise after eating. Something like swimming, they will tell you don't go and swim in a full stomach because water is heavy. The pressure of the water on your abdomen can actually force the food back out. You choke on it and then end up drowning because your stomach was full. So it's not advisable at all to go and exercise after eating.
Okay. Final question here. Good morning, David and Doc. Is it true that too much drinking can affect a man's performance in the bedroom? This is coming from Silas in Tema.
The first time we discussed drinking and I raised this topic, I had a lot of attacks. So let me be careful. Now, alcohol is a very interesting drug, and it is a drug actually. Now, when you take a small amount of alcohol, it causes disinhibition. When I say disinhibition, what I mean is that it makes you feel confident. It makes you feel on top of the world. It makes you feel like you can do anything. That's in a small amount. But alcohol itself, it's a suppressant. So alcohol does not, and this is scientifically proven, so nobody should take offense. Alcohol does not enhance your sexual performance. Alcohol actually reduces your sexual performance. But because of the initial disinhibition, you will feel like I'm doing so much. I'm doing marvelously well. But ask your partner, and your partner will tell you that, Massa, if you encourage, you know. So we need to understand that alcohol, it plays on the mind. It makes you feel like you're actually doing something, but in actual sense you are not. That's the whole thing about alcohol.
All right. The final one was, let me ask you about Hamatan and what we should do to not have challenges.
people in Accra have not seen Harmattan yet, but I was speaking to my in-laws.
I'm beginning to feel it.
Yeah, it's actually it always comes after heavy rain, as I've heard. And yesterday was quite heavy, so this morning you can actually feel some dryness in the air. And one of the key things you have to understand about Harmattan is the dryness in the air. And dryness means that you are going to get a lot of dryness of your skin, dryness of your face, and most importantly, dryness of your mucous membrane, so your lips, your nose. So you are going to experience nosebleeds, especially if you pick your nose. This is the time to not pick your nose, because you can end up you can cause a nosebleed. You are going to get cracks of your lips. So instead of licking your lips, you should try and get Vaseline or any lip balm so that you can use that to moisturize your lips. I mean, these are the most obvious common things to Harmattan. However, people with allergies are also going to get an increase in occurrence because of the dust that's going to come in the air. So you're going to get a lot of itchy eyes, red eyes. You're going to get a lot of runny nose, especially in the early mornings and late at night. You're going to get a lot of sneezing. A lot of asthma attacks also happen during the Harmattan. So this is the time to make sure that you have your anti-allergy medication in your handbag or wherever it is that you can quickly have access to it. And for the children who have asthma, thankfully they are not in school, so it goes back to the parents. Make sure that they know how to use their inhalers, because you may not be there all the time. So teach them how to use the inhalers, show them where you keep the inhalers so that they can quickly rush and get it. And also tell them the symptoms they should expect, because the attack is always preceded by something. So whenever they notice these symptoms, they need to quickly go and find their inhalers, and then start using them to prevent a full-blown attack. Very important.
Okay, I have two more here. Good morning, Doc. I want to say thank you for your education this morning, but my question is, can alcohol cause stomach ulcers? This is coming from David in Zabila, Upper East.
Okay, so alcohol by itself will not cause an ulcer. However, alcohol, how do I put it? People who drink alcohol tend to, again, it comes back to this same disinhibition thing I spoke about. On one hand, they feel like they are full, they don't need anything else, so they tend not to eat as much as they are supposed to eat. And then alcohol also tends to have some calories, so it can sustain you for some time, But then your stomach is empty, and whenever you are hungry, there's acid secretion already starting in your stomach. There's acid in your stomach. And so if you don't have food in there for the acid to work on, then it starts eating into the stomach, the mucous membrane in the stomach, and that can cause an ulcer. And so the alcohol, alcohol by itself will not cause an ulcer, but the circumstances around people who drink alcohol makes them not likely to eat at the right time or eat appropriate quantities, and so they tend to put themselves at risk of developing an ulcer, and that's why that's why there's that relationship between alcohol and ulcer.
And a final one here. And the questions are a lot, but we don't have too much time, so we'll do a final one here. Good morning, Doc. Is it a good idea to donate blood as a gift to society during this festive season? This is coming from Prince in Adabraka. So I think this question is about the season of giving and looking at giving blood. I mean, it's a good idea to donate blood at any point during the year, especially during this period, this Christmas period, because, hey, it's the season of giving, and there's no better gift you can give than the gift of life. And so if you can give some blood, please go ahead and give some blood. And thankfully, when you go to the blood centers, they actually give you a free health screening because you came to donate blood. And so it's important that you give blood, and it gives you a chance to know your health status before you enter the new year. So by all means, this is fully endorsed. So go ahead and donate some blood. If you are fit and you meet the criteria, go ahead and do that. This one I can't avoid it. There's one more here. Ibrahim from Wale says, I have low erection. What's the cause and the way forward?
The cause will be difficult to tell. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your previous experiences have been. I don't know. Are you on any medication? Are you on any medication at all? There are so many things that can cause a low erection. But you see, let me even backtrack a bit. The first question I ask is, how do you even know your erection is low? Because I've had some experience in this regard, and a lot of Ghanaian men have a much higher expectation of themselves.
Okay, you know what, Doc? This is what we're going to do. We have to dedicate a show to this. Okay. Because there's a lot of questions coming about alcohol intake and sexual performance. So we're going to have to focus on that alone as a show on its own, okay? But where can people reach you?
Well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Kelvin Owusu MD, and then on Twitter, Nase Puku.
Okay. Can they call you?
Well, I'm very active on social media, and my number is actually on there as well. So.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So we've been speaking with Dr. Kelvin Owusu, who is the Medical Director for Optimacare Diagnostics.
Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on City TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.